Hey, good morning. It's February 16th. Welcome to Collision Coffee Talk. And I'm going to be honest, I'm in a tiny bit of a hurry this morning. Once you get over 50, your life is just appointments and doctor's appointments and whatever. I do have a doctor's appointment, and unfortunately, I made it for like 8 o'clock in the morning. So, we're just going to get to this one and talk. There's a lot to talk about. I am going to say, make sure you listen to this one all the way through and probably don't wait too long before you listen to this one all the way through because yeah, we got some really cool stuff that we're going to talk about today. On this episode, we're going to talk about the repair requirements. Is surfacing around in RTAs on does the car have to be repaired, not repaired? If you repair it, does it void your RTA? If you don't repair it, what do you do? We're just going to talk something about that, some case law. I want to say case law, but there was some judgment on a case that came out that'll be very interesting for this one. State Farm, of course, we talked about last Monday that they had previously in Oklahoma lost an appeal and a judge gave them 7 days to turn over the discovery. It is like 7 business days. We're not quite there yet, but I don't have anything new to report on that. So we're just going to talk about more about that one. A State Farm employee dying of cancer, who in fact actually did pass away before her claim was settled, gets denied by State Farm. So if you think you're struggling with State Farm, even employees who work there struggle to get their claims paid as well. And so I'm just going to talk about it, right? There is an industry standard. I see people talk all the time, show me the industry standard book. So I'm going to show it to you today. We're going to talk about the industry standard. Safelite and fraud, insurance directed repair. Can you do it? Can you not do it? What is it? What is it not? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about when STP becomes STFU, and some recent things that are happening around different Department of Insurances around the country. Um, there's more AI layoffs. We're gonna talk about how you argue is how you think. So to argue, you must think, and we'll go through that. The Collision Collective, great response. We rolled that out last week. I don't know where it's going. I'm not even really sure what we're going to do with it yet, but I just know we got to do something. So we'll talk about the collective. We're going to talk about LKQ ADAS components. Um, I just can't even imagine that there are adjusters. So for first of all, you insurance company people, shame on you. You people you know better. That's just dumb. That's like installing used airbags or aftermarket airbags, and you want to put used ADAS components on a car. That's just stupid. And LKQ, where is your ethics? Like I know you guys make a lot of money, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. You are morally and ethically bankrupt as a company when you're selling used safety components on cars. That's just crazy. And you're telling insurance companies. So it'd be one thing if you just had like a pull and what is it, the pull and pops or whatever, where you just cars were wrecked and people are pulling cars on, parts off of them. Pick and pulls. Yeah, there you go. It's early. I've had one cup of coffee. Give me a break, folks. But this LKQ markets this to insurance companies. They put this shit inside the estimating systems for people to find it. This is just you're morally bankrupt. There's no way to put it. I can't sugarcoat it. I'm not really interested if I hurt your feelings on that one. That's a no, and it's just a no. We're gonna talk about it more. And then there is a white paper that has been released, and I know this industry loves its white papers. You guys love your CCC crash course report. You like your Mike Anderson's who pays for what, so you like reports. There's now a white paper on paint materials and reimbursement and calculation. And then we had a new form of fraud brought to our attention last week, and we're not even mad about it. We're kind of impressed. I mean, sometimes these criminals um, are so intelligent. You're like, man, if you ever applied your brain to do things the right way, you'd be a billionaire. But we're going to just talk about that for a little fun today. Okay. So there's more and more stories, and this Oklahoma Watch um, journalistic website is doing a really good job of telling those stories. This one is one you should go and read. I get a lot of phone calls, and I have over the last really 3 years. It's been very, very steady, like every week over the last 3 years, where State Farm agents, State Farm claims adjusters, State Farm employees, and other insurance companies, your Allstates or Progressives or whatever, they have a claim and they're having a hard time getting their own claim paid. When I first started in claims, I'm like the second generation. Well, I was the third generation of State Farm policyholders. So I had their insurance till they canceled me for some Look, don't race cars in high school. It's all I'm going to tell you to do, right? But they always the first thing they do when you get hired is they'll pull you aside and go, "Hey, you should probably not have your insurance here. You should go get coverage somewhere else." And I was like, "This is, third generation. Why would I want to go get insurance somewhere else?" Then you have a claim and you're like, "Oh, that's why I want to go get insurance somewhere else." Um, Employees struggling with their own claims is not new. It's not something that's just the State Farm. But over the last couple of years, it's gone to a new heights. It's almost assumed as soon as an employee files a claim, that it's fraud. Now, that used to be when an employee filed a claim, there were extra protections that went into place. The claim file was locked down so that just nobody in the company could come and let's go see what's going on with Kristen's claim, right? Like there was those extra management signed off. You couldn't, nobody in your unit or like your claims office could handle your own claim and had to go outside of the market. And those were good rules. But when you have a claim, it's rough. Same for you body shops. I always tell you if you file a claim, please don't tell anybody you work at a body shop or anything because that's just, or, I mean, you're just good luck getting your claim paid after that. But this is a great story. So this was in an agent's office, so this was not a claims employee. Very much a State Farm super fan, which I related to when I was reading this. I mean, I have the State Farm tattoos. I have my whole office. She was talking about how she bought the pedal cars. I had the pedal cars, but my last one I donated to Win. So if you go back probably 10, 15 years, there's a Win pedal car. That used to be a State Farm pedal car, by the way. We just repainted that sucker. But how she had all of that. Somewhere around here, you'll see my farmer from Myrna, the car, the bank, all the collectibles and all that. And I think my first 10 years of employment, we had a company store and I would buy my parents gifts from the company store. So the State Farm blanket and State Farm sweats and whatever. So I definitely related when I was reading that of being like a super fan. So worked there, but worked there because they loved it and felt that the company aligned with their values and felt like that by selling State Farm insurance, they were actually almost like a community service. She got cancer, and about the same time, a hailstorm came through, and she got a claim denied. That claim is now part of the suit. There's interviews with the kids. She's gone, and those things. And so sometimes, I don't want to say sometimes. So adjusters and insurance company people that are listening to this, I know sometimes that you log on because you want to see what you're going to decide that I'm wrong about. I know shops call me and go, well, so and so popped in here from Progressive the other day, and they were saying they'd watched your show, and it's all lies, and none of it's true. And I'm like, okay, it's all lies. One thing is for certain, we now have people with over 20 years, 15, 20 years of experience in claims that, in my mind, has never worked a claim. I want to be very clear about that. Working a claim isn't just about opening coverages, talking on the phone, and sending checks about. There's a face-to-face human aspect. You are making decisions that affect other human beings' lives. And I know sometimes it feels trivial in your mind when you're sitting 3 states over in a cubicle, that it's just a car, or it's just the roof, or it's just the whatever. But this has massive impact on other humans. And you have to approach it in that way. And there's a lot to be said that because of the way claims changed when we didn't have field adjusters and we didn't have local offices and we didn't have all of that, that some of the humanity has exited the whole process. Adjusters approach things as numbers and spreadsheets and KPIs instead of a human with a life and with feelings, and the decisions you make may have unimaginable ripple consequences. And I used to teach this to cat adjusters because, you can have a storm come through, and let's say it's significant. It's a tornado, it's a flood, it's a whatever. We get to settle the auto a whole lot quicker than the homeowners will settle. And settling the auto not only is a way to get some initial money into some people's hands, but it's also while this homeowner's claim may go on for months, they need to get to work and they need to continue to hold a job and they need to continue to support their families and they need to do all the things that come with that vehicle. Go and read this. We've lost that humanity and claims. And I think a lot of body shops, you've lost that humanity as well, which is a little hard for me to fathom because you see the adjuster. I got in an argument. You can go onto the Facebook page. It was a post that came out Saturday about Larry's right to appraisal class. And there's a guy that gets on there, and of course, he hates Larry and makes a comment about how the advertising would be a whole lot better if I'd take Larry's picture off. And then I'm thinking, well, then when you buy the class and it's Larry teaching it, what are you going to do, right? But an argument sort of breaks out. And I want to be very clear. I should not love your customer more than you do. I don't care who you are. You can be 3M, you can be a body shop, you can be an insurance adjuster, you can be whatever. I shouldn't love your customer more than you do. And when people will get online and basically admit to and proud of that they're not fixing cars right and they're not taking the time that they need to do, but that's not their fault. That's the insurance company's fault. That's this fault. That's whatever. It's the same indifference to humanity that we think about when we think about what insurance companies do when they deny claims, whether that's State Farm denying a cancer patient's home or whether we think it's a health company that denies a life-saving prescription or treatment or whatever. AI is, I don't want to say AI is coming, AI is taking over. We're going to lose more and more people. We're going to talk about that later in the show as well. And the one gift or the one requirement that we should bring to this is humanity and a sense of right and wrong, of an unwavering desire to do the right thing regardless. And sometimes integrity is expensive because it costs you things when you have it. It may cost you a DRP, it may cost you a repair, it may cost you this client, but it's no longer State. I think every insurance company, so not just picking on State Farm, but it is no longer the company that the Maherls envisioned. It no longer has that heart to it in a lot of ways. Tips are I blame you completely. God, I hope you're listening. So, but yeah. So as we keep up and we are still watching, I guess we're going to call it State Farm Discovery Watch 2026 or whatever. Will they actually turn that stuff over this week? Should pop up the deadline somewhere, and we'll either see that they don't follow or they try to find something. All right. So speaking of things to follow, um, all right. So I want to take this in a couple of phases. Um, I'm a little frustrated and angry that members of associations that claim that they represent this collision repair industry and speak for repairers are off doing things that make no damn difference whatsoever so that they can take pictures and do grip and grins. And there are some real things going on in this industry that needs your attention. Um, so the Auto Glass Association, and you can hopefully, if you guys are watching the video version of the show, um, if not, you can go to the website iga.org. So that's your glass association. They are working on Senate Bill 5871 as it relates to glass. And the reason that I want to bring this up, because I don't have a warm and fuzzy friendly relationship with some of the people over at the Glass Association. This particular, they have their own podcast. It's called Shatterproof. I've necessarily not agreed with Gary Hart on a lot of things. Like claims and what insurance companies and kind of how it works or whatever. That's not new. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody I really agree with on everything anyway. I believe that discord is a disruption that all markets need. But anyway, they're talking about kind of what's going on with Safelite and the role of glass, and how that in the glass industry. So we talked a couple of episodes ago about this criminalization of repair, that narrative of criminalization that insurance companies have started to talk about, body shops about. They've talked about IAs about, like, we're just, you guys are all fraudsters. You're all just, running up estimates. You're doing everything you can to make a ton of money. That criminalization, you need to be very aware that that started a long time ago in the glass business. So that exact playbook, if we go back a couple of years and we talk about how Geico worked in Florida to take assignment of benefits away on glass claims and did that through legislation, they did it by this mass storytelling of criminalization. Were there bad actors in the marketplace? Absolutely. I think that's, when we talk about, I have bad acting on the insurance side, I have bad acting in chiropractors. I mean, like in anywhere there is an element of fraud. Is one bigger than the other? No, I firmly believe that the majority of repairers and tow truck drivers and glass providers and even adjusters are not intentionally committing fraud, but there are some bad actors out there. And I think that the insurance industry would love to make it think that it's all a bunch of people attacking them and they're doing everything they can to try to keep your premiums in the right place. And I can give you claim after claim and situation and investigation after investigation where some of the most expensive fraud I have ever caught in my life, if you want to say it that way, was from my own adjusters, people within my claims office that had come up with fraud schemes. So, um, but the parallels are very interesting. You need to go listen to this. So this isn't about just listen to Coffee Talk and let Kristen tell you how you should think. That would be awesome in my mind, right? But I really like free thinkers, and I think critical thinking is like the one thing that may save us. But you need to go listen to this Shatterproof podcast. You can get it on YouTube as they talk about this. So this story that they're telling about how glass shops were all evil criminals is how a lot of these laws got passed. And then they talk through how it is a monopoly when the company that owns the glass companies is also the TPA that's doing the services. In other words, can you imagine Walmart having to call Target and ask permission for what it can charge and what it can sell? And that's basically what got set up with Safelite, right? Every independent glass, every time there's a glass claim, and we showed a picture and we talked about it, this automatic message and text message gets sent to customers. It says if you're trying to file your claim online, it pops up and tells you you're being rerouted to Safelite. They're going to take it over. We're not going to handle your glass claim. Now, that can be your process. That's what I tell people all the time. I can have processes and I can have policy, right? And a process may mean that I've decided it's cheaper, faster, quicker, whatever to have a TPA, but that doesn't mean the customer has to deal with that TPA. So there's some other things around there. But as you read through this, when it talks about the conflict of interest created when a claims administrator also owns the competing facilities. Same thing when Hill Strategies and other companies get to be in charge of PDR during CATs. That's wrong as well. Um, the way that it's written, it shifts the liability and cost to the independent shop, and it leaves the insurer and their TPA untouched. So basically, every independent glass shop has to take on all of this liability, but they don't even get a say into what they're going to be getting paid. And Safelite gets to do whatever the hell they want to do, and there are no consequences, or say whatever the price is going to be, and there's no consequences whatsoever. I do agree with the Shatterproof that this is a national issue, and here's what you need to know the ADAS deals that Geico did with Aztec, that State Farm has done with Opus, Allstate has done with Opus, that these insurers are doing, their goal is to try to find a safe light of ADAS. They're probably pretty happy at the concept of Opus and Aztec merging. You have Gerber who bought MAS. You have Caliber that owns Protec. So you have like all of these. They would love to have a central company that could take over ADAS the way that Safelite took over glass. The only interesting caveat is that glass as a standalone is a completely different animal than ADAS. ADAS is never a standalone. It is part of glass and then it is part of collision. So that's a little bit of a difference, but that is the goal. So every time you get something that says, you have to do this or you agree in a DRP that you're going to do a certain provider. Go back and remember, for those of you who've been around a long, long time, go back to the early 2000s and remember when you were told that you were going to have to let Safelite do the glass. Some of you were given a bay fee. Okay, we're going to pay you $25, but then you're going to let Safelite come in and do all the glass. And some of you thought, well, this is great. I was already subletting my glass anyway. And I'm just going to take my $25 and let somebody else have to worry about it. Look where it got you. Look where you are. For most collision repairers, you just didn't think glass was that big of a deal. Now, most of you would struggle to find an independent glass guy to come by your shop when you need help with glass. And then now you're going to roll that model into ADAS. So I always tell people what you allow will not continue. It will get worse. So once you lay the groundwork, it's kind of like getting in a swimming pool, right? I stick my toe in and okay, that's all right. Now I'm going to wade in a little deeper and a little deeper. And before long, you're at the end of the pool asking for a floaty. That's really where we are with that. So please go online. IGA is the Independent Glass Association. You can go directly to their website, which again is IGA.org. You can go to YouTube and just search for the IGA and the Shatterproof podcast. I'll put a link in the description for people to get to that video directly. It's for those of you that may be watching on Facebook. That link will be inside the video description, so you can link to it that way. We break. Everybody say thank you, Melanie. Had a lot of requests to break the show up by chapters so that people could just push a button and go to the chapter that they want to listen to. And my response was, I ain't doing that. I ain't got time at 4 in the morning. Melanie steps in every day. And after she gets to work around 8:30 or so, she goes in and chapters everything. So if you're one of the later listeners to the show, by lunchtime, there's chapters. So we'll have that in the chapters as part of the podcast there. But please, 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 body shops, please pay attention. What is going on with the glass industry as it relates to Safelite? One, it applies to you anyway because you guys are dealing with Safelite as well. But then it really, really applies because this is the goal. I don't know how to say it any clearer. If I was sitting at corporate, I'd be like, damn, I don't want to do with ADAS anymore. This thing is a mess and everybody's charging everything all over the industry. Let's find one person. They haven't been able to find one person because nobody has a footprint. That's what I'm sorry. That's what MSOs did was it gave you a footprint across a book of business. That is why Crash overpaid for Joe Hudson. 5 million a store. Are you kidding me? But they needed the footprint so that they could go back and get national agreements. There hasn't been an ADAS provider that really has that national footprint. We probably get closer when we start talking about the ones that are associated with or not associated, but owned by the MSOs, but not quite there. So pay attention. What was that? The Jungle Book, the Disney movie, The Jungle Book, the original from original animation days of Disney, where you have the elephants and they're doing the elephant march and the head elephant is like constant vigilance. And I just kind of feel like this is one of those issues right now that every body shop you need to pay attention to. This doesn't mean that you wait until one of the trade magazines or Repair Driven News or somebody tells you there's something you should think about, or by then it's too late. It means something happened that generated news, whether that was a passing of a bill or it's a press release about a bill. So you've got to get on it. You've got to pay attention. You need to educate yourself. Also, I would say pay very, very close attention what's going on in the locksmith world right now, as the locksmiths are having to deal with NATEF and scan tools, and you have to be registered or you're not going to be. They can't cut keys for customers unless you register and pay a fee to NATEF, and it's just there's a lot going on there as well. So just be, critical thinking means you need to know everything that's going on. Insurers work across lots of different I guess lines of business, whether that's homeowners, whether it's stolen cars and keys, whether it's glass claims, whether it's whatever, and the lessons that are learned or the things that they do as they cross back and forth. When they do something for a long time and go, wow, we didn't get our ass suit off for that, then that thing starts to apply in other areas that may have more financial benefit to them for that. So go and listen to it. It's actually they did a good job with this one. Like I said, I'm not. We've had some pretty public disagreements. It's kind of like that ADAS guy out in North Carolina. Dude, I hate that guy. But doesn't mean that you don't have something to share. You don't have some knowledge there. I can hate somebody and they could still be relevant in some ways. God, that's a novel concept. I always say people with Larry, you can hate the guy, but but you gotta admit he's got some things to share and talk about. Okay, let's talk about this repair requirement because I'm seeing this come up in a lot of right to appraisals. Um, our insurance companies don't like right to appraisal, and the reason they don't like it is because they aren't paying claims properly, which means every time something goes to RTA, they end up having to pay more money. So would you like something if it always cost you more money? Of course you wouldn't. What's interesting is to watch them try to get creative about denying RTA. So they're getting really creative about ways to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, because of this, we don't have to honor your right to appraisal request." And they're reaching in a lot of cases, but why not, right? Like if an attorney doesn't get involved, it doesn't matter. Like there's not necessarily something the DOI can do on those things. But really interesting case that happened. This is on the homeowner side. I'm well aware. So some people get on and go, that case doesn't apply. And it always applies. The principle of how a judge or a jury or somebody interprets a policy, applies to everything, homeowners, auto, whatever. When you understand how an attorney presented it or how they went about their argument or the things that they say, and then you get the feedback on whether and how the judge agreed, or those are great things, and they help you sort of put together maybe what you're dealing with. So in this case, it was a claim that it was in Florida, so you can see it's the appellate court there, um, where lost the house. The insurance company denies the loss. Obviously, it takes several years for this process to happen. The insurer did not repair the property. And in homeowners, there's this principle of depreciation, right? So, like your roof got damaged, you need a roof. It's going to be $35,000 to put that roof on, but the roof's 10 years old, so we're going to depreciate it 20%, and we're going to hold that money back because we're going to pay you the actual cash value of your 15-year-old roof. And then once you make the repairs, we'll give you the replacement cost value, which is to put a new roof on today. Sounds logical, makes a whole lot of sense. I've often said on catastrophes, can we just release what we owe? Because the holdback, every now and then, bad cat years, us auto people would end up working homeowners. And we're over here going, we don't hold back until you replace the car. Just pay the damn claim, right? Like, let's just get this over with and closed. But they're dealing with whole other dollar amounts than we deal on the auto side. So totally get that. But some takeaways from this, because I have had lots of back and forth recently. Um, there are some shops that will go ahead and help the customer fix the car. And this is a long process. Some RTAs go quickly, some take months. Customers can't wait for months and not have transportation, and rental isn't going to pay while they're waiting on this thing. So if a car is drivable, some people go, great, let's sort out the RTA, then we'll repair it. If the car is not drivable, a lot of times that you've been back and forth with supplements, you've done everything you can to try to settle it. You're going to invoke the RTA, and sometimes people go ahead and repair the car. And I've had insurance companies come back and go, oh, yeah, because you did that, we don't have to honor the RTA. If we look at some of it here, basically what the court said was, look, you denied it. You had your chance. You were everything that was there. You denied the claim. The customer moved on with their life. They don't have to repair it to see the full value of their claim. So in this case, the insurer basically said, okay, well then, great, we owe the claim, but we're going to hold back the depreciation. And they came back and said, you don't get to do that. You don't get to benefit because you delayed the process so damn long. The customer couldn't afford to rebuild the house, and so they had to walk away from it. You don't get to save money because you made a wrong decision. You denied the claim inappropriately. I believe it doesn't really matter what I believe. It only matters what an attorney can say in court. It only matters what a judge can say. But if I'm sitting in my seat in corporate and I have some jackass of a claims manager come to me and go, hey, they invoked right to appraisal, but they already repaired the car. And so I think we ought to deny it because our IA can't see the car. And I'm like, what does the IA need to see? Right? We had a chance to go do the supplements. We took pictures. We were invited out. We said no. We didn't go out and re-inspect the supplements. We just kept saying no. We missed our bite at the apple. You don't get to deny the right to appraisal because of where the car's changed. If that was the case, you got off your ass and went out and looked at the supplements a couple of times. So that's just an interesting position. I really like this case. A lot of times I talk to attorneys that are struggling to go, well, I don't have any case law. Well, you're right, because we don't have a whole lot of auto, such a small amount that when somebody gets wronged on an auto claim, it's typically cheaper for them to just pay it out of pocket, move on, than to go to court. Homeowners, the amounts are so big, the customer's like, I need something, right? But we can learn a lot sometimes from what's going on with property. Now, some other things that this does mean, I've seen some other things come up. Yes, you can have an RTA on a closed file. So you could have a car that got fixed a year ago, and the customer didn't get paid enough, and they paid out of pocket, and now they've just learned that this right to appraisal thing exists. If you're within the limitations within that state, just because the insurance company closed the file and it's been paid and the car's been repaired, doesn't mean the claim is over. That's why you have this limitations on a claim because things happen. And I have insurers tell me all the time, we don't pay. The claim's closed. There's nothing to talk about. They accepted it. The car got repaired. They took the car back. And I go, Ever paid a supplement on a closed file? No. You sure about that? Because I probably have a stack of them on my desk where we went back in a post-repair inspection, found out that not all of the damage was estimated. And then we presented, here's what was owed under the claim that you didn't pay for, right? Well, that's different. How? I'm post repair inspecting the car for whatever reason, whether it's a complaint or the customer went to trade it in or whatever it is, and I find a list of things that were damaged from the accident that should have been repaired that were not. I find a list of things that were owed, should have been paid, what were not. I send them to you and you pay them, sometimes 2 years after the car's been repaired and back. Same concept applies. So this stuff's really, really interesting. It's why I also always tell people I get asked a lot to look at legislation that shops and their associations are sending to the states. And I've always said two things right now. The only two things any state association needs to be talking about or working on. And if your state association isn't doing those things, do not give them your money. But the two things they need to be working on is a right to appraisal bill, which a lot of associations across the country are working on that. And the second thing is a disclosure bill. If we just had those two things, I think it would sort of reshape the boundaries and roles within the industry, which is desperately what we need. But if you are going to write right to appraisal legislation, be very, very careful when you're including inspection data or an inspection data or an inspection line that says a party, the insurance adjuster has 5 days to re-inspect it, or you have 5 days to look at the supplement, or 2 days, or whatever that is. That really doesn't add value. I think a lot of people put that in their language because they probably number one, you have local adjusters, the independents thinking if I require a physical inspection, they can't hire these out of state people. They're going to have to hire somebody local, which means me and my buddies, we all get more work. If I have a time limit demand on an inspection and they don't do it, then I'll get a default. And that's not good. Like I'm okay with somebody not having to physically come and look at the property. In my mind, I got all the pictures. I'm not really sure what else I would gain by being on the property, crawling all over the car. Sure, there's always something I find that the physical look. I always like the pictures though too, because it kind of takes you out of the I guess the weeds of whatever else is distracting you around the car, which is usually some body shop owner or technician like barking in my ear the whole time. But be very, very careful when you're including inspection language in any right to appraisal bill, because that may work against you. Like in the particular case, if their claim was still within the statute of limitations and they wanted to reopen it and submit things, but the car had already been repaired, having in some inspection language in your RTA bill may prevent that from being available. Adjusters used to come to me and complain all the time. And I would just basically tell them, we owe what we owe, right? From the date of that loss, that's what we owe. It doesn't matter how much time has passed until we get to the statute of limitations. If we missed it, screwed up, got something wrong, and they come back 2 years or even 3 days before the statute's over and shows me what we did wrong, we owe it. That's all there is to it, right? That's me making decisions about humans. I'm either good at my job and I got it right, or I made a mistake and I am given the opportunity to make it right. And that's the job. That really is the job. So definitely something to consider. This came in this week. Lots of talk around picked up. Steering is hard. Steering's always been part of the job. It was my job as an adjuster to get the cars where I wanted them to go. I got a job to do. You got a job to do. But there are certain things that you can't do. So you may want to, if you're working on Kemper cars here, you may want to pull up and read your state statutes and get very familiar with what can and can't be done within your state. This particular paragraph crosses the line, depending on how your state rule or laws are written. I cannot, as an insurer, demand one thing like you have to do this and it has to be done by these people or we're not paying your claim. That's typically the definition of steering. I can call and say, I don't like the shop you've picked. They just like they can say they don't like me. Like that's life, boo boo. I get to say I don't like you, and I get to say that I think you're a terrible shop. That's just the way it goes. But I can't say if you don't do this, we're not paying. That's technically steering. I can say I don't like the shop. I can say I think the shop's going to charge too much money. I can say we warranty our network. That shop is not part of that network, so therefore we won't be warranting their work. And shops always go, that's not fair. We warranty our work. Yep, we sure do. But in the old days, I used to, I warranted my network. You could move towns. Bob's Autobody may have fixed your car here in Arkansas in the DRP, and 6 months later or a year later, you may move to California. I got to pay that. I can't bring it back over here. I can't say, well, if you can get from California to Arkansas, we'll get the car fixed. So there is sometimes some network benefits to customers, and that's just a reality. But in this particular paragraph from this adjuster in Florida, by the way, it's like, isn't there something about Florida man? Like if you go online and Google your name and Florida man or whatever, I'm starting to think there's going to be a Florida for claims here pretty soon. Um, I have attached, so this was an email sent to the customer with a copy of the insurance company's estimate. I have attached information for Elite Tech. In the event your vehicle needs to be calibrated or scanned, your repair shop will need to contact Elite Tech. The hell I do to do anything, right? Um, Vehicle services. So please forward this information to the shop of your choice. I ain't got to call them. I ain't got to talk to them. I ain't got to care about them. I mean, Elite Tech is continuing to sort of spiral in performance lately, and in attitude. We'll just put it that way. Um, but no. So this would probably cross the line. Oh, I know it crossed the line in Florida, but so things to pay attention to, like there are things that you don't like that insurance companies say about you. There's things that insurance companies, body shops, paint. There's lots of things people say about me that I don't necessarily like. I just don't care. So kind of the same way, you can not like some of the things that insurance companies say about you, but that doesn't mean that there's broken the law. A lot of times steering laws don't even have any teeth. Okay, you have a law, but what's the penalty? Like, what is there? But this would be an example of a bad thing. So be very, very careful. Even though an insurer may say this is who we want the car done by, it doesn't negate liability. And most of you, specifically if you're in a DRP, you've accepted the liability, all of it, which means even third-party providers, whether that's whoever you send the alignment to, the ADAS, the whatever, that all falls back on you. I get asked a lot about um, filing complaints with the Department of Insurance, and everybody goes in, it doesn't do any good. Our DOI here is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Recently, I had a chance to do a webinar for shops in Minnesota, and I kind of side-handedly went, I got to be honest, you guys have one of the most active Department of Insurances in the country that likes to give out fines. Like, I really wish more DOIs would give out fines. It's probably a great budget thing. And yeah, the fines aren't much. They're generally limited in the provisions or the rules of what the DOI can charge per each offense or whatever. But as you can see, Minnesota is very active in fines, and it can't happen unless shops and customers work together to kind of let the DOI know what's going on. I've talked numerous times. I've showed DOI websites. I've showed how you search Department of Insurance complaints nationally through the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, how you can search them on the state level. Like we've talked about it all the time. This is very interesting. So July was a pretty good month, or I'm sorry, January was a pretty good month. You had Progressive and State Farm both get fined. Sure, 5,000, it's just pennies. I don't care about the dollar amount. I care about a paper trail of a certain performance so that if it's not corrected and we continue to have the same problem over and over, possibly a market conduct. This also possibly becomes really good things to talk about in like a civil case. So if you're looking at where we are in Oklahoma with the Oklahoma case, really active DOI complaints showing a pattern. That's how they find half of these plaintiffs when they're looking at getting a class together is you got to go find them somewhere. And it's not like you just put an ad out in the paper and go, hey, anybody had a hard time getting their claim paid? Can you guys come on down? We're going to have a meeting, possibly looking at, some stuff. But failed to timely respond to claim communications, failure to notify the policyholders of an approaching expiration or applicable statute of limitations. You have to tell people that's part of that fiduciary duty. I have to tell you when limits are in play. I have to tell you when there's a deadline. I have to tell you if the policy has a provision that says you have to send in a proof of loss. Like I just can't wait and then go, you didn't turn in the proof of loss in 10 days. Like I don't get to do that. Like I have to be proactive and beg you to follow the rules basically. So I like this one. Is when does STP become STFU, so to speak? So straight through processing, and the way that the AI is trying to handle claims is going to create a lot more of these gaps. It's not like there's humans within claims departments assigned to specific coverages or whatever. And so some people just go, that wasn't my job to call them. And you got this person over here in the total loss department goes, well, it wasn't my job to call them or whatever. And you have people looking at the claim going, yeah, somebody should really do something. Yeah, you're the one that should really do something. But humans don't like to take ownership these days. And in fact, if we're honest, there's not an incentive to take ownership. If you jumped in that claim and tried to help, you're almost probably going to get in more trouble with your boss than if you just pretended like you didn't see it. But we will see more of these claims communications, updates, disclosures, all of these sort of things. So it's just real important. Yes, we're all well aware that the DOI rarely steps in. Sometimes when the DOI sends you a letter back that says seek remedies elsewhere, that's them saying this sucks, please sue them. Like that's what they're out there and for. But it now more than ever, it's more important that more consumers from a broader base voice when things don't work out, even if you're not going to charge them out of pocket, extra, and even if they're not going to do, it's still very important that a lot of those experiences get logged because when lobbyists and people go go to the state legislature and start talking, usually the first thing like even a governor or a chairman of a committee is going to do is they're going to call the insurance commissioner and go, is this really a problem? And they're going to click a couple buttons on their keyboard and they're going to go, well, you know what, we've had 300 complaints about that this year. And it can't be the same shop over and over. Like 300 complaints from Larry in Mid Island. All they're going to do is tell the governor of New York, because obviously we had conversations with the governor of North New York last week. They're just going to go, that's just that one shop. As you can see, no one else in the state is complaining other than this one shop in Long Island, so to speak. So it's very, very important that you do those. Not because you're expecting an immediate result, but one day that stuff does pay off. But just a little shout out to the Department of Insurance in Minnesota. They've always been very active. They've also always been very active against Safelite. So I'm gonna give them some kudos in there. And I know that $5,000 is, I mean, that's like buying a stick of gum for the farm. But over time, when you can prove a case of indifference, like you just kept getting fined for this and you did nothing to get better at it, you just kept happening. That indifference pays off in somebody's lawsuit someday, somehow, somewhere. So speaking of AI layoffs, so Chubb announced last week that they had made a crap ton of money, and had a loss ratio of like 85. So for like every dollar of premium they brought in, they were only spending 85 cents of it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's a really, really good loss ratio. Kind of like when we talked about is LKQ financially hurting, and when you look at their debt ratio, that's actually they're still healthy, right? But so same thing. Chubb has made tons of money. Well, they're about to make tons more money because starting this year, they're going to lay off 80 something percent of the claims related and claims function. So it's not just all claims adjusters that are getting laid off, but they're using AI and hey, here's where we're going. We're not going to have humans anymore. We're going to have this do it. And it's not just claims. So there's a rather large national law firm that has branches in multiple states that announced that they're getting rid of a large portion of their staff because of AI. So that may be paralegals, um, different people that helped with research and did things. More and more artificial intelligence is taking over. Now, that may not be a good thing. We talked last week about the Arkansas attorney that had to resign from her job because she used AI to write a brief, and none of the cases that it quoted were actually real. I can let you know, I was doing some research last week before a phone call. So I had a shop that was interested in, hey, can you talk to my attorney? We'd like to talk about a torturous interference case with an insurer. And I looked behind me and I was like, I don't really have what I'm looking for. Like I didn't have a file. Like I try to keep files on everything I ever did. and couldn't find a file. So I went to ChatGPT and was like, okay, I know I had a case and it was in this state. And then so I had some pretty good parameters for what I was looking for. ChatGPT serves me up a couple of cases. And when you read the summaries, you're like, those are perfect. And then I went copy paste over to a separate Google browser and none those cases didn't exist. Couldn't find them in FindLaw or any of the places that they were supposed to be. And I was like, it served me up exactly like like it knew what I was looking for. And that's true. The AI learns you, and it learns what you want, and it learns what your preferences are and how you lean, or one of those things. So we'll see how this affects law firms going forward, particularly your your national bodily injury law firms, the ones that have the big billboards and they're everywhere, all over the country. Like, what's AI doing, and will it affect court? I mean, thankfully, that brief here in Arkansas, the opposing counsel caught it and made the complaint. But what if nobody checked it? What if they just assumed because it was in a brief it was true, and they didn't try to go find those cases? So we'll see where that goes. Keep in mind, as the insurers begin to lay off more and more people, they know the AI is not ready, folks. They're not saying it's ready. They're just saying that we at some point everyone's got to go through the painful process of change. I remember when we closed, when we first started Service First, that's all I'm going to call it. Um, those Service First estimators and people managing the program were within localized claims offices. And then they decided, okay, we're going to pull them all out, and you either go to a regional, and that's when we had regional offices, you go to a regional or you're unemployed. And a lot of us were in the meetings with corporate screaming, we're not ready. We don't have the capacity. As soon as you pull these people, what are we going to do? Like I had a long list of why I didn't think that was a good idea. And their response to me was, no, we know it's not going to work. We know it's going to be painful. You'll figure it out. But at some point, we just have to rip the band-aid off, force that painful process of adaptation. So if you look at the species, not just the human, but all species across life forms, their adaptation happens because of a trauma or a problem that needs to like force that adaptation. It's not like, you're laying around comfortable one day and you're like, I wonder if I could like you stop breathing water and walk up on the land. Like there's reasons for some of that stuff. And that's where we're at now. So this year, 2026, you'll see lots more where the faucet is completely turned off from humans, and you'll be dealing with a computer. And I go, you guys can't negotiate with a human. How the hell are you going to negotiate with a computer, right? You don't need an estimating class. So all these people that are telling you to come to their estimating class, or I'm going to give you a parts management class, you guys don't need any of that right now. I mean, it's not that it's not one thing that somebody needs to work on. I got 1,100 classes posted. I'd love to sell you some of those, but I don't think that's what you need right now. I think this year is going to be learning how to adapt to the new workflows and involving customers in this process. And an estimating class is going to help you at all because you're still struggling to get the estimates that you're writing now paid. What good does it do if I teach you how to add another $4,000 or $5,000 to it, and it's more for you to negotiate, more stress for estimators and whatever. Just be prepared. I also believe that that's going to force a lot of change into the shops as profit shrinks. We're all going to have to find ways to do more with less, and that's less staff. Um, as of right now, the wrench turners and the trigger sprayers in the paint booth, probably the most safest people out there. Admins and estimators, well, we're in danger, right? There's other ways sometimes to have things done, so we'll see how that works off. And speaking for how you're gonna how you're gonna present these things and deal with AI or force claims into a different funnel so you don't have to deal with AI. Tomorrow is my insurance and customer relations class. Argue like a lawyer, think like a judge. So I don't think you need an estimating class. I don't think you need a parts management class, but I do firmly believe you have to learn how to critically think in 2026. And that means that you learn how to apply a set pattern to every different scenario you're going to get in. There is no book. There is nothing that I can, well, there's a book and I'm gonna, but there's no set like if this happens, you do this, and then everything works out. I had somebody call me last week and go, "How do you make an insurance company pay?" And I go, "I don't. Like, if I could figure that out, I'd be a kabillionaire, and I'd have a private island, and I well, I don't like the beach, so I'd have a mountaintop resort, and I'd sit up there all day, and I'd watch the mountains, and I'd play with my dog, and I'd fish, and and do those things. But I don't have that magic answer, and so here I am at 4 o'clock on a Monday morning doing a podcast. So. No one can make anybody pay but a judge. And then, I mean, hell, even a judge gives State Farm an order and they go, yeah, not going to do it. So, but tomorrow, our class will be Argue Like a Lawyer, Think Like a Judge. This is not a legal class. So I want to put that out there that this isn't a class about how to be an attorney and how to be a judge. This is a way of thinking. Um, so really, really quickly, um, lawyers approach a problem depending on who their audience are. You can be the plaintiff or you can be the defendant. The problem is central. How you see the problem is different depending on what side of the fence you sit on. So, how do you choose the right way to argue for your side of a position? So, if we think about insurance companies, consumers, body shops, the problem is how do we fix the car? And that problem is central, right? And this beauty of that's what I love about the car. The car never talks back. The car never lies. And it doesn't matter where the car is. The car can be in California, it can be in New York, it can be in Florida, it can be in Arkansas, and the car is the same. And it takes the exact same thing to fix it no matter where it's at. That's the beauty of a car. Humans are a little different when we're dealing with bodily injury, some of those other things, right? But the car is the car, and I love that. It's sort of of a a standard known, like I know what that is. But if we're three sides of that argument, um, depending on what angle you're wanting to take or what angle you represent, you have to think through what your points are, and then you have to present them to a judge, and that judge sometimes is the consumer that's deciding who's telling me the truth. Is it the shop or is it the adjuster? Sometimes that may be a Department of Insurance you're presenting that to. Sometimes it may be the adjuster that you're presenting it to in hopes that you get. There's always a judge in our life. If you're Southern, there's a lot of judges. They're your aunts and your uncles and whatever. But there's a lot of judges in our life. And learning how to present an argument with the facts in the right way, organized at the right time, that's what makes a good attorney. And I was very fortunate early in my career to sort of learn that concept. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, why it's a big deal. Well, I just want to say this. I've taught this for 30 years. And so the concepts of total evaluation and claim handling, right? Of everything that can go on in a claim, particularly from bodily injury, SIU perspectives, and alternative dispute resolutions, which are RTAs is one of those, arbitration mediation, litigation management. How do we make sure that we were constantly? I always used to tell people I don't prepare for court after a suit is filed. We prepared for court the day the claim was reported, and everything that we did led up to it. I had a great in-house counsel one time tell me, if the adjuster doesn't do their job, there's nothing I can do. If you bring me a file that's flawed, we will settle. If you bring me a file that's flawed and then halfway down the file you got it right, we will settle, but just not for as much as we might settle. And if you handle it right, then you may have something that I can defend. And so that started from day one. Investigations, what are the processes of investigation? That's when I start building my documentation. My investigation on an injury claim is completely different than what investigation is on writing an estimate. Evaluations and negotiations. So for 30 years, oh my God, I'm getting old. I've been teaching that class. Things copyrighted in the 90s. But so I taught a class for a long, long time. I will tell you, I actually wrote the book on how to argue like a lawyer and think like a judge. And so people go, "Did you think you wrote the book?" No, I did. So it is a book. It was, I've I've taught it in private classes for a long time. I'm actually in the process now of I'm going to put this book on Amazon. I've got 5 more books I'm going to write this year that, I mean, over 30 years of teaching the same topics over and over, I might as well just put it in a book, right? Instead of it being an 8-hour lecture or a 3-day class or a 1-week class or whatever, let's just put it in a book. So that's the book, Argue Like a Lawyer, Think Like a Judge. If you are in my class Tuesday, now that doesn't mean you have to be in the live class. You just need to be registered. If you are a registered member of the class of the C20 Insurance and Customer Relations, I'm sorry, tomorrow at 3:30 Central Time, I will teach this concept. It'll be about 2 hours long. And then when you get the playback, you will get a digital PDF ebook of this book. You don't have to buy it off of Amazon. You're going to get it. Now, full disclosure, right now, it's still being edited. Um, I've I've got case studies in there that are more insurance related. Where how do we, I mean, do we even pull those out? Do we do whatever? I don't know what the final print version for Amazon will be. But you're going to get this version, which is the class version that I've been using over the last 15 years. So I've been teaching this topic for 30. We're going to talk about it, and then you're going to get the book. And the main thing is that I want you to learn how to put those two minds together. When somebody calls me with a problem and starts going off on this emotional, and I can't believe, and the insurance knew it was here, and I talked to them and they told me to do this, and I very quietly go, okay, I got a couple questions. One, did you get the contract signed? Number two, first party or third party? Number three, like it's that methodical way of going through it that combines that. Sure, I want to present this in a way that gets you paid. That's my goal, right? It's what hopefully you're a member of our groups for, is you want help getting paid. So that's the angle I want to go with, but I can't just make up my facts and I can't argue from anger or whatever. Now, those are really good tools to like, so, emotional manipulation is a great tool in negotiation sometimes, but I can't just stomp my little feet and go, it's the right thing to do, right? That's not going to get somebody to pay me. So I got to think like the judge, right? Like if I'm going to present this case to a judge and I want a judge to rule in the favor of I want to get paid for this, who is that judge? Is it an adjuster? Is it a claims manager? Is it another adjuster in an RTA? Is it an umpire? Is it a real judge? Are we going to court, right? Like that's how you organize your thoughts. This class was fantastic. This class I typically taught it to bodily injury. So those were the people that were handling the attorneys on the rear end accidents with the chiropractors and all that, and our SIU teams. The book is short. The book will end up being like 100 pages. It's not a big book. There's a workbook. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with that yet either. But if you're in class tomorrow or you're a registered member of C20, you're gonna get the book for free. So you don't have to go on Amazon and buy it. I've decided that there's some people in this industry that really don't know what they're talking about, but people think they know what they're talking about because they wrote a book. So I'm going to write a book too. That just seems fair. Like, so, you can email Melanie today. So Melanie@collisionhub.com. You can sign up. And I know that I got something Tuesday. I can't make the class. You get a replay of the class. You get a replay of a video of me explaining it, and then you'll get a PDF copy of my book there. And then if I see you out and about, you can bring it and I'll sign it for you. I'll be in Wisconsin soon for a Wisconsin trade show and event. So you Wisconsinites, if you want to be in it, but definitely, um, nothing matters. Doesn't matter what you learn. Doesn't matter what estimating class you go to. None of that matters if you can't independently build a case based on each file is handled individually and on its own merits. So when you hear an insurance company say that, we're basically saying it doesn't matter if I paid for it before. It doesn't matter if I'm even going to pay for it in the future. The only thing that matters is right now, does it apply to this car? And so you're constantly critically thinking about that. But join the class, and then, you get a book. All right, the Collision Collective launched it last week. I'm going to be real honest. Don't know where it's going. Don't know what's going to happen with it. I know Scott and Emmanuel. I've known Scott for 20 something years. I had to try to think through how long I've known him. And here's the thing. Shops are hurting. We're expecting a 20% closure rate in 2026. And when I look around the industry, the only things that seem to be helping people are designed for people that aren't independent repairs. MSOs get large discounts. There are buying groups that are for larger, nicer shops that are on OE certified programs. And I think those are great. But if you're just Bob's Collision Repair Center and it's you and 4 employees and you're not OE certified and God knows you're not an MSO, what do you get? And the answer right now is nothing. And that's just Like we need independent repairs. They are the backbone. I don't believe the MSOs get to exist unless the independent is there. Somebody has to pay sort of full price so that everybody else can get discounts, right? So Scott and Emmanuel are working on building a buyers group, a collection of independent small collision repairs, and that's dealerships and it's mom and pops and it's all these things, and seeing if there's a way that he can find some companies that are obviously doing this with other groups. So why not help every shop in America? Why you only want to help a couple of them? But I will tell you this, we are looking at sort of that fringe. There are large companies that have large brand power and they have deals with MSOs. And then there are some companies that aren't as big as those companies and they make damn good products. And those would be companies like MDI here. So really good friend of mine left Dynabraid and she's working at MDI now and they make paint wipes and shop wipes. They make towels. And they make some damn good stuff. I've put them side by side and I've tested them against the well-known brands that we had. I've tested them against the white label brands that are sold in our industry through different jobber networks or whatever. Um, we're going to go try to find those people, the small guys like you. So you're an independent. We're going to go try to find the small, independent, American-made companies, American-owned companies making products. This product's made in New York. All these towels are made in the western side of New York over there, so it's way away from those crazy East Coast New Yorkers. Um, we're going to try to find those companies. And that may mean that we may ask you to change some brands. If you're using some of the big name brands in our industry and you don't feel like you're getting a good enough deal, and we can find you a product that has the same service that or the same quality, does the same thing. It's a sandpaper, it's 80 grit, and it sands. Um, and has the same, life expectancy and performance and all that, but you can get it for less, then we're gonna ask that you do that. And I don't think that's unfair. Like I want people to support small, independent, local businesses. That's whether I'm going, down the road to Brent Weiser's here to buy that's where I get my meat, or I've got a local farm that has vegetables and whatever. And whether I'm doing all of that, same thing. So if you want your shop to stay and you want to be more competitive, then you need to also go find those American-owned companies that have been trying to compete against these global giants, and they're feeling the same constraints that you're feeling competing with the MSOs. So about 250 of you have pre-registered so far, and there's nothing you're signing up for. And right now, you're not giving any money away. You're just raising your hand and going, "Yeah, I'd like some help. I'd love some money back. Even if I only get $500 back a month, that's $500 I wasn't getting in any of the previous months." But you can find the post on our social media, click on the forum, raise your hand. And then Scott and Emmanuel are working, and hopefully, it's a big difference when they walk in with a company and say, "Hey, I want to do something and I want to help." And look, I've already got 200 shops that are interested. That makes manufacturers go, "Oh, well, okay, we'll talk to you." Whereas if they just walked in and said, "Hey, we got an idea," they would be like, "All right, call us back when you have some customers." I mean, that would be really interesting. So thank you all that put your name on the line and filled out a form. You can email us. We'll tell you what we know. I've been being asked for about 10 years now to do some sort of like bargaining power. Hey, you have all these Collision Hub member shops. Let's do something. I don't know how to do it. Like I've always told people I'd love to, but I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to run it. I don't know how I would like check and count. I don't even know what I would do. And so I'm glad that Fix Auto got rid of Emmanuel and Scott, and now I get to. They learned things working for, Fix Auto's a franchise, kind of like a Car Star, and they learned things working there, and we may get to benefit from it. Okay, so let's have a good laugh, right? It's Monday, and we don't have a whole lot to be looking forward to. This one, I will say this. I know that sometimes we talk about how much enterprise people calling us and asking us questions annoys us, but man, those people deal with problems you couldn't even imagine. Like they gotta those store managers, those forward facing people. Oh, y'all better hug them because there's no way I could do that job. So this is really interesting. This popped up, and so I had to call when this popped up on my feed. I picked up the phone and I called some folks within enterprise and I went, "Is this really a problem?" And they went, "You have no idea." So in this case, let's say you drive I don't know, you drive a Dodge Charger and you might have been out, doing some burnouts and acting like a fool, and now you have four bald tires. And so you go and rent a Dodge Charger from the airport or from the whatever, and then you take it home. You take your bald tires and wheels off your car, you put them on the rental car, and then you return the rental car. So you got four new tires for a 1 day rental fee. And I'm just like, okay, that's brilliant. Like, I mean, like, I'm going to be honest. I mean, it's like when I first thought about it, I went, "What? Let me think through that." And then I thought about the variety that's in the rental fleet now, right? You have SUVs, you have trucks, you have cars, you have. I mean, like, it's probably pretty hard to think of something that's sold that I might have as a consumer that they probably don't have sitting on the. If it's a late model car, that's probably not available to me in rental. Um, so I thought through it and went, oh man, that's awesome. And then you think about it's particularly airports, right? You're turning the cars in, you're leaving them in a line. There's nobody like checking it in. There's no tire gauge on the car. And in fact, when most people do the walkarounds for previous damage or whatever, they're looking at the panels. And so I'm thinking, how many cars got brought back where there had been a wheel tire swap out before they finally got aware that there was a problem and somebody raised their hands and the police department got called in and whatever else. So, um, like I said, I wasn't even mad. That was kind of brilliant. I was like, I guess, a set of tires is expensive, but a 1 day rental will run me maybe $60. So $60 for four tires, that's a pretty good deal, right? So just know that whatever you think you're dealing with in the shop with customers and sometimes customers try to pull scams over us and we have to deal with it. And I know from a body shop it gets a little, but we're not the rental car counter because God love those people. They must be saints to do some of the stuff that they have to do. And I think we could probably do a whole show on rental car fraud. I mean, we all know that they come back a lot of times. They're used in robberies. We used to have bad issues with rental cars being used as mobile meth labs. Like, I mean, it's just so they put up with a lot. I would not. I mean, I know Enterprise is self-insured, so I mean, I don't know how they do that. Okay, this industry loves white papers, and so we got one for you. There is a new white paper that is out available that you can download. Who pays for paint materials? So, um, just we are into February, so I think there's one more increase for one particular paint company coming. But for the most part, most of you have had anywhere from a 4 to 6% increase in the first half of 2026 on just about everything you have in your store. Sandpaper, masking, clear coat, base coat, like everything's gone up. And that paint material rate on your estimates that you're calculating by is staying the same. There is no way anybody survives unless you start itemizing and charging for paint materials. And that's not just the liquids that go on the car in the paint booth. There's so many materials that you use. I love invoicing systems. We love Eagle MMS. I don't care if you use PMC or you use Logic, like NCS is a great product, but I don't care what you use. But man, you got to use something. So most people go, well, nobody's going to pay for that. Well, okay, let's study it, right? So in this white paper, it represents 23 different insurance carriers and the real claims that have been submitted and paid. The shops that participated are independent, they are dealerships, and they are DRP. So it's not like it's just one particular type of shop that's getting paid or not paid. What I really loved about this is on average, of course, it varies across the respondents, whether you're dealership independent, DRP, whatever, and carrier. Some carriers pay better than others in a lot of ways. That basically only 31% of the time was people reporting that they were not paid at all. So then let's flip it around. That means like 69% of the time they're getting paid something, either the full amount of the invoice or an additional amount of paint materials. So 69% of the time I get something more than just the P&M formula. Folks, that's fantastic. Now, State Farm was the worst. So of all the carriers that shops reported back on, State Farm was the lowest at paying. Very, very hard to get State Farm to pay a material invoice. Not impossible, and you'll see that when you download the white paper. The white paper does a great job. So it'll break it out where you see Basically, red is no, dark green is yes, light green is partial. And so you can just go across the time and you can see that State Farm only pays about 30% of the time, only 10% in full, and then that means the other 20% is a partial reimbursement. But when people say State Farm doesn't pay, that's not true. They do, they just don't pay a lot. And then you can go across and see where other carriers. Folks, that's fantastic. But he went further and he broke down the actual specifics of paid, not paid. And so you can see the amount of the estimate, you can see the P&M calculations, you can see what the additional amount requested was, and you'll see whether they got it paid in full or whether they didn't get it paid at all or they got it paid partially. So you can see that color code there on the screen. The dark green is the people that got paid in full. The light green is the people that got paid partial. And so you can really see in, well, what did a partial payment mean? Well, hey, this guy only got $30.22. That's $30 he didn't have if he hadn't done that on one claim. Yanni's product is $100 a month. $100 a month, and you got $30 on one claim, right? You only got to do this about 4 more times, and you're gonna get your money back, right? So you're in good shape. And then he comes down and sums it up, and this is basically the average people are getting paid above and beyond the paint material formula is $331. When we talk to people about invoicing, sure, those invoices that we post where you get $2,000 extra, $1,500, man, that looks good. But even $300 extra, if you're fixing 20 cars a week and you get $300 more on those 20 cars, that's significant. And that allows you, I see so many shops right now that are like, Kristen, I'm going to go to a value clear, but I'm going to keep this, highline paint for my base because of color match. And everybody's looking for a way to try to survive, and sometimes the way you survive is you ask to get paid. That's the thing that you do. And if you've got the product right and you're using a right partner and the costs are right, then if you only get paid 60% of the time, it's still worth whatever you're spending to create those itemized invoices. So this is a great white paper. Yanni and his team go into detail about each different data point that they have. So if you just go to the Eagle MMS website, I think it's eaglemms.com. So if you just go to the Eagle website, and then at the top of the screen up there, you see a little section that says who pays with a question mark. If you click there and give them their email, give them an email address because you got to raise your hand so they know who's downloading it. Same thing happens when you do the CCC crash report. You will instantaneously get a copy of the white paper. You don't have to wait, you don't have to whatever, boom, it's right there. So definitely go get that. And there shouldn't be anyone. We have MSOs that are using Eagle MMS and getting paid, and they're 100% DRP. And they're not getting paid on every one of them, but they're getting paid on some of them. So if an MSO can get paid on an Eagle MMS invoice, you can get paid on a repair stack, on a repair logic. You can get whatever you're wanting to use, you can get paid on it. But the point is, you've got to get paid. You can't keep taking increases on materials and then have insurance trying to cut blend time and cut. Oh, you're not going to put full base on the panel. I'm going to cut your time. Every time they cut a time, that's not just reflective of time that the painter's losing. That's reflective of material cost that you're losing. And you're still going to have to sand those panels and clear those complete panels and do all of those things. So I don't think anyone in 2020, I don't care the size of your shop, there is not a single shop in the United States of America in 2026 that should be operating and not invoicing their paint and materials. I don't know how to be any clearer. And when a shop calls me and goes, you don't understand my market and how things work here. And I'm just thinking, for the love of donuts, if Caliber and Gerber can get paid for material invoices, you can too, right? Like that's like it's not that hard. You get a lot of no's, but I only need a couple of yeses to make a little bit more money. Just not losing. I always tell people if you probably thought about how much you're losing right now, it would scare the crap out of you. Speaking of things that scare the crap out of you, LKQ, I'm just about over you. And I know you're over me, and we don't like each other, and so there's no love lost there, but there's an integrity and a character that you should have. You should love people enough, other human beings, not to do harm. And so selling used ADAS components is gross. There's just no other way around it. Like you don't sell used airbags. You don't sell, well, the car was, we'll just rip an airbag. No, you never see that on an insurance estimate. Um, and the reason it's on an insurance estimate is you jerks went to an insurance company and told them that this was good and that this was safe. You've put it in the data that's being served up to the estimating system, and this stuff's popping up. And these people that are not trained don't know not to pick them. Plus, you put a damn KPI on them where they have to have a certain amount of APU on their reports. This is gross, right? A blind spot radar used is available at Alliance Auto Parts. Here's the phone number. Here's the quote. Um, Gross. LKQ, you're advertising aftermarket sensors. You're advertising wiring harness repair, all of these things. And it's just no. The answer is no. So very quickly, you're going to start seeing more of this. The first thing you need to do is ask for the VIN that it came off of. And the way that we do this is you see on this note, the adjuster goes, this is off a 2025 model. Um, there was a panel discussion given at CIC. I hate that thing too. But what was really interesting is Jake Rodenroth was on the panel, and Jake, we kind of consider him our ADAS guru, not because he's like the ADAS tech to end all ADAS techs, but because Jake does a very good job of explaining that side of the fence to people on my side. ADAS is so technical, and I know I don't have time to learn it. I just need somebody to tell me about it and explain it to me in a way that I can understand and apply it to my estimates or my claims or whatever. Jake's really, really good at that. But at the CIC, he talked about how there's one particular model of Honda, and they have three different sensors. So there's three different ADAS sensors for that car, and you have to be very specific on which one you have to do. So this would be a great case where I would have to explain, look, there's different sensors. I need the VIN that this one came off of because I need to verify that this is actually going to work. But what I'm really looking for the VIN for is I want to know what the car looked like. I want to know what the donor looked like. There's a reason when you flip these sensors over that they have words on them that says, if dropped, do not reinstall. Now, when they're building them, they're thinking about warranty work and dealership work. They're not thinking about collision repair. So they're basically telling the technician, if you drop this thing, please don't reinstall it, because it's enough of a vibration of a shock that it could cause problems that would affect its ability to calibrate. Now, a lot of insurance companies take that and go, well, then it wouldn't calibrate. We'd know to order a new one. No, no, no. That's the problem. It probably will calibrate. It just won't calibrate correctly. So if I got a VIN and I went and looked at up that vehicle to see what it looked like when it's sold at a Copart or an IA or whatever, and the thing's a train wreck, well, it's pretty easy for me to say that that probably sustained the same amount of shock and force value as if it would be dropped. So why would I want to install this again? Um, it sucks that you're going to have to fight back against these, but you have to fight back against these really with everything that you have, because that's that same, do you care enough, right? I mean, like, do you have the morality and the ethics and the character to not screw over the vehicle owner and go, that's not my problem. They shouldn't have bought that insurance company. They should have researched better. They should have read their policy. Like all the excuses we make when we don't do the right thing for the right reasons on why it's not our fault. But we're going to have to be having a whole lot more conversations around certain parts and why they're bad and why we're not using them for a very specific legal reason. And so that's what I want to end today on. Another argument that we got into last week is I posted basically just a picture. The standard's the standard, right? And the industry standard in our industry is not charging the customer. People are scared for whatever reason. You'd rather go broke and not make money and have to lay off your friends, because usually in this business an employee is a little bit more than an employee to us. You'd rather lay them off than make a customer pay for the right amount of their repairs. And so that's fine, but there's actually a legality to it. So we hear all this talk about industry standard, and some jackass always on every show me the book of industry standards. That jackass is usually Larry. And I go, the industry standard is every estimate that's uploaded in a market. And I think shops have to be very, very, very keenly aware of what you did to yourself. So part of the reason why an insurance company sets up a claim funnel, which is what a B2B portal and all that stuff is that one, it does make our claim handling easier in a lot of ways. But number two is it made you upload estimates, idiots. Like, and we talked you into rekey and a lot of things. So the legal definition of an industry standard. So that's a law dictionary. If you pull it out and you wanted to look at it, or you wanted to say, okay, remember, I'm going to argue like a lawyer, think like a judge. A judge has to go, well, what's an industry standard? An insurance company is going to say, we only owe the industry standard. Some of y'all think that that's a book that should be produced, but it's every day and everything that it's uploaded all across the country. So the legal definition of an industry standard refers to the generally accepted, customary, and voluntary guidelines, practices, or technical specifications followed by members of a particular field to ensure safety, quality, and interoperability. Ooh, that's a big word. Basically, all of the shops in America are part of this industry. Okay. When you upload estimates with aftermarket LKQ parts that are not safe. Oh, like blind spot monitors that are used. When you do used quarter panels and used roofs, when you upload those estimates, when you rekey and you accept not following standard repair procedures and standards by the OE, when you don't do repairs and inspections after collision, when you take estimates and you send them up to the mothership of CCC and Mitchell, and those files close and get paid, you have set the market standard. That is voluntary guidelines. You voluntarily said, okay, we're not going to charge for that. We'll do it this way. Now you bitch and moan and you go, well, the insurance company controls this because if I don't do it, we're not going to get paid. That's still voluntary. You chose that you wanted to get paid that amount of money, so you improperly wrote and repaired a vehicle. There's intent there. Like I would think in a criminal case, if you ever fixed a car wrong and somebody got hurt, it's not very far for maybe a prosecuting attorney to come in after the civil case and go, that's depraved indifference. There was intent there. I'm going to charge you criminally for the bad repairs that you did. But you ignore technical specs, you ignore repair procedures. You look at that guy that was arguing with me yesterday on the Collision on Facebook page. He doesn't follow, he just, I got to do what I got to do to make my money. Um, and then you guys get on there and swear that you fix cars safely. So you stupid DRP. Like, I mean, I get why you're on a DRP and you're scared to death, but man, you're so stupid on them because you're the ones repeatedly not fixing cars correctly. You know you're not. You know that you're not following the repair procedures. But then you get online and you bang your chest and we're iCar Gold certified and we fix cars correctly. And so you purport that you do the right thing. Okay, this is what it looks like in court. You're out here banging your bell, and some of you are showing up on the covers of damn trade magazines. And I know you've been in court, and I know you've bought cars back. Why are you on the cover of a magazine telling anybody how to fix their car? But you're out here doing all this. How long would it take me in front of a jury to show what your standard actually is? I mean, think about it. Some insurance company is going to put you up as the standard. How long would it take somebody like me or a Larry or anybody else to expose you? And then what happens? But an insurer basically says that, hey, if you look at the legal principle, it just says these standards act as a benchmark for professional negligence or contractual performance, but are not inherently legal binding except unless adapted by law. So an insurer comes to the table and goes, hey, we're paying to repair cars the way everybody's fixing them in the market. And then they're going to come to the table with 10,000 estimates that market or zip codes uploaded in the last 6 months or committed in the last 6 months and go, see, judge, this isn't our rule. This is what they're doing, and they're deciding not to follow these things. Every time you rekey, you put that estimate in your own words. That's why they make you rekey. It's that Erica Eversman has done a lot of conversations about that. That's you putting your name on that. Even though you plan on rekeying it and deleting the whole thing or whatever, rekey is a legal pitfall. You're using aftermarket parts on your estimates. It's a legal pitfall. You're setting the standard for everybody else. When you exclude different procedures and requirements, you're setting the standard. So all of you that are here going, I wish the industry would get better. I wish insurers would pay for the right damage. I wish we could get a labor increase. I wish we could do all these things. But every day you're legally reinforcing that you don't need it by how you upload and what you do. And that's what's going to go. I have people all the time, well, we've gone to court and we've told them to show us the industry standard and they can't produce it. Yeah, they learned. And that's what the estimating providers do for them now. It's why you have the 20 something buckets of ADAS with CCC. It's why you have insurers that will lose their mind if you try to have the last page of the estimate have the rates you want. But let's say I want $75 an hour, but for right now I'm willing to do it for 65, but I'm going to write for 75 and then I'm going to go make a line item deduction that says discount given for whatever. It's not about the price. I mean, hopefully you guys have understand the insurance company goes, oh, that's okay. As long as the price works out, it's good. They lose their mind because it's that last page where you put your rates in that sets this industry standard book for the rest of the world. So, um, what you allow will not continue. It will only get worse until the shops of this industry get rid of the DRP program and start charging on the estimates what you need. If you cut a deal and offer the customer a 30% discount, that's business. It's like, you know, I want to buy I want to buy Toll House cookies today. And the Edward Giant food store right here doesn't have them on sale. They want $4 for their Toll House cookies. But the Kroger has them on sale for $1 off with a Kroger card. I'm going to go get the dollar off with a Kroger card. And there's nothing that's saying that Edward Food Giant and Kroger have to charge the same amount for the cookies, even. So, how you run your business needs to be decisions that you make as a business owner. And what we've done is we've given all those decisions up to the insurer, where now you make no decisions about your business. And you're very much a victim, willing to do whatever they're willing to pay you. So, there is a industry standard. There's not a printed book other than it would be a collection of all the estimates. Imagine, as an insurer, all I have to do is go, hey, I need every estimate that's been committed within the zip code of 72019 within the last 6 months. Because remember, you don't own your data. You signed that in your estimating agreement. Um, and then somebody's going to walk in with all those estimates and go, well, these shops fixed the car for this. Why can't you? It's going to get even harder in court, right? RTA is probably one of the best places we can be. All right, everybody have a fantastic week. I got to get to a doctor's appointment, so I got to go down and get ready and do all that. Who books a doctor's appointment for 8 a.m. on a Monday? This is really the worst thing I could have done. You got questions? Call us. Call Melanie. Email Melanie. Please do not call her. Email me. There are 7,300 messages in my entry right now. I can't keep up with them. So I'm losing track, and I know people are mad at me. So if you've sent me something and I haven't gotten back to you, send it again until it just like bubbles up to the top of the email tray. Um, Melanie can get you signed up for the class on Tuesday, tomorrow at 3:30 Central Time. Argue like a lawyer, think like a judge. And for everybody that's a member of the group, you're going to get a free copy. People that join later, you will not get a free copy. I will make you go to Amazon and buy the book. So there's that for you. And then hopefully I'll see a lot of you guys tomorrow. If not, then I will see you next Monday morning on Collision Coffee Talk. Thanks, everybody.